Hey, welcome, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2. This is your boy, Rolling Cross, aka Cross the Christian Cyclist. And today we have a good friend of mine, John Michael. And introduce yourself, John, to
Hey,
everybody.
I'm John Michael, Montgomery area. How's it going, Cross?
I'm doing good. Today we're going to deal with a real interesting topic. We're going to deal with battling obesity. And a lot of it's dealing with how to stay active, how to keep it in front of you, don't allow it to depress you, stop you. And man, I don't think I could find a better person to be an ambassador for this cause, not because of what you're battling, but because of how you battle. I think it's an inspiration to a lot of people when they get to learn your story and how you went from not being born obese or genetically, right?
Sure.
And yet come into a situation of obesity, but didn't let that deter you. You found ways to battle it, and you're still battling it. So let's
Yeah,
talk.
and I think I'll probably be battling it forever.
Yeah.
It's
Well, we're gonna hope that's not the case. We're gonna hope that we're gonna hope that you put an end to that thing and it goes away just like you wasn't born with it. That one day it just boom, it just goes because you
I can accept
maintain.
that.
Yeah, that's the greater hope we're going for today. Let's
Sure.
talk about it, man. Let's talk about the beginning. Let's share your story. Let's talk about how you started out in your younger ages. And as you're talking, just for the audience, you're gonna see I'm gonna probably have some slides of different images of John, when he lost weight and when he was younger and older dealing with obesity. I mean, it's a miraculous thing. But go ahead, John. Let's share your story with the people.
Yeah, the whole story is kind of a roller coaster of not being too overweight and then being extremely obese and then being a really healthy weight and then becoming extremely obese again, all the way down to where I am now. But as a kid, I was probably average, maybe a little heavy. I played a lot of sports, played a lot of basketball in the neighborhood, rode my BMX bike all over the place. That was what you did back then. You really didn't stay inside very much like a lot of people do now. Then I ended up going to college. I went to culinary school. And that's probably where the weight started because I went to French culinary school. And, you learn how to make some really tasty, really high fat, sweet, amazing foods that I really developed a love for. But I perhaps didn't have the moderation. I
Okay.
rode a lot in college. I was pretty healthy in college. I'd say I was probably a fit weight in college.
Okay.
And then I have a story where my bike got stolen by a deer. I was helping somebody get out of the forest and to the road, and I went back to get my bike, and I couldn't find it. And so my friends
Wow.
still send me Christmas cards with deers riding bikes now. But that was probably the start of my initial weight gain.
Wow. Wow. In a very jokingly way, it's safe to say that French culinary schools are not going to be calling you to do their campaigning, right?
No, not at all.
This picture right here, the one that's like black and white. Around how old are you during this time? And the little girl, who is this? Like your sister
That
or
no, that's my daughter actually.
you
You
look
see,
so
I
young
am
on there.
the
How
one
old
thing
were
that
you?
I'm blessed with. The one thing that I'm blessed with is age. So that picture, that black and white picture, is probably not very long ago. That was maybe like
Really?
5 years ago, 6 years ago. The my daughter now in that photo, that was her first grade daddy daughter dance. So she is 14 now. So that was probably about 6 years ago, about 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Wow. You
Um,
you
and
rocking
that
the
was that was me
grease?
at my thinnest for sure.
Really?
Yeah, it was the grease setup for
Yeah, I'm about
their
to
for
say
their
you.
dads.
Listen, I love the movie Grease, so I'm like you rocking the
Yeah,
Grease jacket. You
that's
got
what
the.
it was. That's what we were doing.
I
But
just told
yeah,
on
that was
myself.
definitely my thinnest.
Okay, okay. So I'm gonna show you another picture. So from then to now, here, what's the time frame difference in the
So
weight
again,
gain?
this is gonna be funny. So that top picture, that's me when my oldest was born. So that was 14 years ago.
Okay.
All right, and then the next one is not super long ago. That was probably like 3 years ago.
So, okay, so the one at the top with the baby, that's 14 years ago. So you went from, and
Yep.
how much did you weigh around then, around that time?
So right there, I would probably be about 333 plus.
333 plus. So you went from there to here,
Yep.
back to the one where you're holding the little girl.
That's correct.
That's how drastic of a shift in weight, right? So
Yep.
when you went
Absolutely.
from the baby to here, let's talk about that. How did you get down to this weight? And what is this weight again? Like 150 something, 160, not
So
160?
that picture, I'm going to guess I'm 155 in that picture. I know in March of 2012, I think it was, I hit 166, which was half the weight I used to be. So I literally lost half a person. And then, or a full person, depending how you're looking at that. um, and then I went down to about 155, where I think that photo is about 155.
Okay.
A lot of that was just I was on the rowing machine. I was really hitting it hard. A big philosophy of mine is that you got to take small steps. So many people fail in weight loss. I always tell a story of I went to a gym with a friend of mine, and there was a sign that said no guests until February 15th. And that's because all the people making their New Year's Day resolutions, they know they're going to fail by the 15th of February.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've made a rule about it. That's how predictable it is. But what people do is they say, when you're that big, that's big. You're not a Ferrari. You're more like a bus. And you can't treat yourself like a Ferrari. So starting to eat all healthy foods, starting to exercise immediately, you're going to put your body into shock. It's very hard without massive support to do something like that. I couldn't have done something like that. So I just started with something simple. And the very first thing I did is I eliminated a slice of cheese from my burgers. And
Mm-hmm.
that was it. That's how the whole thing started. One slice of cheese. That it was like 90 calories, I think. I still remember. And then I did that for a week or two.
Okay.
And then as soon as I could do that and I was okay with that, I could move on to something else.
Wow.
So by slowly over time switching out my diet, I got better and better. I was able to, my goal was always to eliminate calories, but add more food, if that makes any sense. So, in eliminating cheese, well, first I needed to get down to the baseline calories. I think
So
I
wait,
was
wait, wait,
aiming for
wait, wait.
2,000
Back up. Hold
calories.
on, hold
Sure.
on. So when you say I wanted to eliminate calories but add more food, so basically what you're saying is I'm eliminating the food that's high in calories, not
Sure.
necessarily food, so that I can still eat and get filled, but I'm eliminating the bad portion, those bad calories that's blowing me up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the biggest challenge for me, and still to this day, to yesterday, is I like to eat. I like to have food. I like to have bigger portions. I like to feel full.
Hmm.
And my lifestyle is kind of chaotic. So eating is not, I don't have a usual time that I eat,
Okay.
which throws me off. So sometimes I'll go, 14, 15 hours without eating. I get home, maybe I had a bigger breakfast, but now I'm having dinner and I'm hungry.
Okay.
But the combined calories of those two meals is still too high
For you to
to
lose
keep
the
your
weight.
weight maintained, right? So I started switching these things little by little. Switch for cheese to broccoli, and then I decided I still like cheese, so I got the cheese sauce, which is far less in calories because it's probably not actually cheese, but whatever. I'm not worried about the actual health of the food at this point yet,
Right.
and you get there over time. But I'll tell you what, everybody makes fun of me, and I posted this on Facebook back in the day, and everybody thought I was joking. But my number one weight loss food was a pepperoni and sausage home run and pizza, full calorie, the personal size, not big, but
Okay.
home run and pizza, pepperoni, sausage. I would saute some onions and peppers, and I would make them really hot, so I wouldn't
Okay.
want to eat more, as a little trick. And then cottage cheese on the side. And I would have that twice a day, and I'd be really happy with that meal. Is that a
Very nice.
healthy meal? I mean, we could debate that for hours, but that was my go-to. That
So
was probably for years. That was what I was eating most of the time.
okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So the reason you would eat what I would consider not fattening, right? I would, if I ate that, I would probably gain weight. But the reason you're able to lose
Sure.
weight is because even though, depending on your dieting regimen, you were coming off another extreme down to that. That was still a downsize in calories, and
Sure.
you're eating what you like to eat still.
And at the beginning, I was eating probably that twice a day plus a little bit more.
Right,
But that whole meal that I just described is 900 calories.
right,
If I'm adding on a little extra for the day, it's 1,000, and aiming for 2,000 calories when you weigh 333 pounds, that's about 1,000 to 1,500 calorie deficit on the day.
right.
Now, once you get good enough at eating that meal and your body surviving off of that level of calories, tacking on the exercise, and you're burning, upwards of 1,500 or 2,000 calories a day, which is where I still to this day try and maintain with my exercise when I am doing it.
Okay, okay. So the moral of it is that there need to be a calorie deficit, right? So
Absolutely.
when
Calories in, calories out. People hate me for that, but it's calories in, calories out. When you're that
but
big,
it's really that
you know
simple
what?
though.
It is. It
And
really is.
I think the problem with people when they're trying to, first off, I think what's really important in what you're saying is when you are dealing with obesity and you're dealing with more weight than just you trying to lose 10, 15 pounds for whatever event you're trying to do. You have to take this thing in stages. And it's important to keep it as simple as possible because it needs to be, I had this thing about simple, stupid, where it's so simple that it's kind of like it just doesn't take a lot to understand. Just
Sure.
cut the amount of calories. Cut. You don't worry about at this stage what you're eating. And I need to make sure I'm eating this broccoli and you sitting there weighing your food out on these scales. You what continue to eat what you eat. Just eat less of it. Just eat less
Well,
of it.
and the thing is that you should eat better. I should eat better than I do today. Um, uh, but you're not used to that when you're just getting started for sure. And by
That's
just
what I
getting started, I mean that first 6 months to a year.
right,
You,
and
you
that's what I'm
can't just
talking about.
switch.
I'm
Your
talking
your whole
about
body is going to revolt. Your metabolism is going to revolt. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be a mean person because you're literally going to be tired and cranky all of the time. Your support
absolutely.
system is going to be really hard on you at that point because you're not being nice to them. And I mean, I even got there a couple of times where I would go too far, and my wife is like, "Hey, you got to adjust something. Get on this
She
right
was like,
away."
"Look, you need to deal with
Um,
this."
right, and over time, it got better and better until I got an injury, and it got worse and worse.
So to the point I was trying to make, and that is that at some point, yes, you should be concerned about the quality of food that you're consuming. But when you
Sure.
starting out, it's hard enough to have to eat less than what you're used to eating. Your body is used to consuming. That's the same way like
Hmm.
if you're one of those people that snack when you get in bed, and then to stop snacking, that's a very difficult task. Like cuz your body
Sure.
is used to eating at certain points. And so that takes discipline all itself. And then when you compile the discipline of that to now I'm weighing out my food, I'm looking at these charts, making sure I got all the right amount of everything in it. I just think you're setting yourself up for failure. And I kind of like your approach. And that is, hey, just get used to eating less and then go to another phase of it, you
Sure.
know, and,
And
and
some
take it
people
that
need
approach.
structure. The
Yeah, that's
best
true.
diet is the diet that works. It
Right,
doesn't matter. All of
right,
them work. All of
right,
them are great.
right.
This is what works for me. And I think that I've got some technical science behind it just because of the failure rate of diets. The failure rate is what I look at. I'm a big statistics guy, and so many people fail. I think it's like 5% actually have success.
Mhm.
Um, I've even failed later on because I made some mistakes. As we move forward in the story, I'm mixed martial arts. I got injured. At the same time, I changed jobs. At the same time, I moved into a new house that needed a lot of work. And I generally became sedentary because I couldn't exercise because of the injury. And that injury lasted a year and a half.
Okay.
But my calories I didn't have them down low enough where I wouldn't just explode back up. So I mean that I went up to 355 in a matter of maybe 2 years, 3 years. I just skyrocketed. And it was just because all of a sudden I had a sedentary life. But when I am exercising, my exercise regimen is normally an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. Plus, I'm really focused on my food at that point. And I just didn't do that. So I made a life error because I kept saying, you're this athlete, you'll lose it. You're this athlete, you'll lose it. And it just wasn't true. And then after that, I did something that I called the last day. And the last day is something where you decide, hey, it's the last day. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to enjoy all these luscious foods, and I'm going to do all the bad things I shouldn't do because it's the last day. And then the next day you realize, oh, you know what? That's a kid's birthday party. This is the last day. I'm going to last day it today. And then the next day you get invited out to lunch with friends. And you know what? That's the last day. And I'll tell you what, I last dated for probably over a year.
Right.
Maybe I'd start up for a little bit and then something else would come up. And even to this day, I occasionally will be like, you know what? The cycling season's starting. You can have a little bowl of ice cream. No big deal. And to some level, I'm correct. But on the same token, start now. That's my message to everybody. Start right now. If you want to lose weight, if you want to change your life, if you want to make yourself better, start right this second. Don't wait. Just do it.
So you brought up cycling, and we can see that beautiful machine that's behind you.
Yeah, in the background there.
Tell me, how has cycling played a part in you in your journey of losing weight?
So the first time I lost weight, it was mostly on a rower and running. I was trying to become a police officer at the time, so I really needed to get in top-notch fitness. But the second time around, it was through cycling. Cycling, I started out on a big cruiser bike, and now I'm riding that nice bike behind me. It's been huge because I enjoy the fact that you can go far. I enjoy the fact that even a few second gain on a ride that you do every day is a win. You can just keep growing and growing and growing. And I haven't hit my max. And there's targets out there that I have that are reasonable right now. There's targets out there that I think are crazy, but you know what? The targets I have now, I thought were crazy a year ago.
Right.
And we're already achieving them. You and I go and ride hills. I can't stand hills. But you know what? I'm out there. I'm doing it. I'm getting better at it. I'm enjoying it more. And you start to enjoy the suck. It's a good feeling. But the other thing is that you have this fellowship among the riders. I've gotten into a bunch of groups, yours included. And you make friends really quickly because we all have this passion. We're all trying to grow. We're all growing at different rates, but cycling still allows for that. You can kind of accordion out and gain back up at the next stop sign. It all works out. It all pans out, and everybody's really friendly and willing to help. That's what I've loved about cycling.
So let's talk about the if I'm one that's battling weight, and there's always a confidence thing. Would you say when you entered into the cycling arena, did you feel timid because you thought maybe people would judge you? Did you find that maybe the cycling community is a little easier than maybe most communities to get into? What's your take on that?
I think that from my experience so far, I was terrified. I got invited into the one group, the first group that I was riding with in maybe April of last year.
Okay. And
I didn't ride with them until probably July. End of July, because I was watching all these posts, and they're like posting 21, 22 miles an hour. They're going 100 miles, and I'm like, 100 miles? Are you insane?
But your timidness, hold on, your timidness wasn't so much as from your weight, more than just the level of riding they were doing, right? Because I would have that same fear and that same timidness. Looking at the miles per hour and the distance going, man, I don't know if I can hold that for that long. But it wasn't like you was worried about discrimination of some sort.
No. And I mean, I think people judge me, but at that point, I had already, probably when I started my first ride with a group, I was probably at 3,500 miles on the season.
Okay.
I could ride. So I do feel like a few of them looked at me a little bit sideways. There's another gentleman there that's a bigger guy, and he really gave me a lot of confidence because he could kill it on a bike. And that was really welcoming to me. But the first ride I went on, I mean, and perhaps this was just not knowing what I was doing, but I showed up in bicycle shorts, or I'm sorry, basketball shorts. I showed up, I was wearing flat tennis shoes, and a t-shirt. And I get there and all these people are on like, $6,000, $7,000 bikes in full gear, clip-in shoes and everything. And I'm like, wow, I'm about to get smoked. And that wasn't the case. Everybody was super nice. I don't think that anybody judged me outside of what I was wearing, maybe a little.
Maybe in the back of their minds, but not saying it out loud, right?
Right. And they were very friendly and welcoming. And then afterwards, and after I started riding, and after I learned what an ABC group was, after I learned what my pace was, after I learned how to draft, everybody was really welcoming. And I found out that I can do all of that. I'm well within my range to be in these groups. I'm well within the A group or B group, depending on the group. And you really learn where to go. And then from there, the friendships start building. And as soon as that happens, it's kind of like a domino effect because I keep meeting people. You keep introducing me to people, and we make friends. And now it's very easy for me to call up a few hours ahead of time now and get a ride going any day. It's amazing.
So the benefits, and I want to hit on this just a little bit. How would you, because you were a runner too. You've done some running. Let me say you've done some running. Let me not call you a runner because I do some running, but I'm no runner. That's for sure.
Right.
But the benefits of cycling, far as your body and the physical abuse that your body take through different type of workouts. Like we've gotten in the gym, me and you. We gotten on the bike. We've never ran together. However, out of the three disciplines, from the workouts in the gym, the bike, and running, if someone is trying to lose weight and you had to give them sort of like a strategy from an athletic standpoint, what would you tell them to kind of focus in on?
I think 100% the bike. I would probably start off on whatever you're comfortable with. A lot of the cyclists that I've kind of mentored into cycling, including my wife, started on one of the larger cruisers. Bigger, fatter tires, something that has a little bit more stability, and just go. If you can go around your block, great. That's a start. You don't need to go do 50, 60, 70 miles. It doesn't matter. The speed doesn't matter. You just got to start moving. And then the key is to continue pushing your effort. Keep getting better and better and better until you outgrow that bike. For me, I rode it was a Specialized cruiser. It probably had something in the 45 range tires. It was a big bike. But I was hitting like 18 miles an hour, 18 and a half miles an hour for 20 miles on this giant cruiser bike. And then somebody said, "Hey, why don't you get a road bike?" And I'm like, "Oh, for some reason I thought back in like the '80s of these little skinny tire bikes that I was making fun of as a kid,
right?
Riding my BMX." And I'm like, "All right, well, I guess." And I ended up finding something, and I immediately took my road bike and I took this gigantic seat that I had and put it on that road bike.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big saddle seat that could fit me because I was all worried about comfort.
Right.
And I learned something that those seats are not comfortable. They're actually separating your hips. So, go with the tiny little seat. I know you think you're too big for that, but you're not. It's much more comfortable. And then again, just keep pushing, keep going, keep doing it. Find friends that do it. Make time to go out with them, and you'll just get better and better and better. And it's much more enjoyable with people, in my opinion. I don't like riding alone, but not to say I don't do it probably 50, 60% of the time.
Right.
But for me, running, the first time I ran at 333 or plus, my heart rate jumped up to 220. It was pushing higher than that. And I had only gone maybe a block. I was done. But the problem was, again, I was doing that for a police test, and you have to run in a certain amount of time. And at the age range that I was at, I think I needed to be below like a 10-minute mile, 11-minute mile, something like that. I forget. Okay. It's been a while.
Okay.
And it was for a mile and a half. I'm sorry, mile and a half in that
Okay.
time. So I needed to run.
Right.
So I did it begrudgingly, and eventually I got really good at it. Eventually I started to enjoy it a little bit more. I still don't want to go do it any today, but uh, I did it. I did. I got into the 7 minute mile range for a
Wow,
while
that's
there,
impressive.
and that was really good.
That's impressive.
And I was super proud of that. And my body wanted to run. My mind didn't. My mind has never caught up with that. But cycling is so much easier. It's so much easier on the body.
Yes.
There's so many different levels. I mean, when you're running, sure you can go faster, but it's still running. I mean, no matter
Right.
what, if I'm running, 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot
Exactly.
of hard pain on the joints. It's a lot of your body moving. I mean, not to get too personal, but when you're that big, you got a lot of jiggling. And cycling doesn't do that.
Right.
Cycling's much more just repetition and moving forward. And like I said, I think I'm a pretty good cyclist.
Oh yeah,
I
I can
still have a
attest to
lot of
that.
room to improve.
Yeah.
And every little improvement, there's that little, I guess, bite of endorphins. I don't know how to describe it. There's some accomplishment in every single ride.
Yeah.
It's rare that you have it where you fall backwards. I might have fallen backwards a little bit over the winter time because I wasn't riding, but so quickly right now, it's all coming back.
Yeah.
Um,
I find that when we cycle, one of the things is just the scenery alone. I mean, if you you know,
mhm.
it builds toward that motivation. Not that I don't like running, but I can't run as far, so I don't see as much.
Sure.
So the scenery becomes repetitive a lot quicker. You know what I mean? Whereas with cycling, we get to see everything, man, and it's
Right.
beautiful.
And fun fact, I have never run with another person ever. Maybe in high school, but like in my weight loss journey, even when I'm running
Yeah, that's
sevens,
true.
I have never run with another person because I am way too self-conscious about how I run or how they run.
Okay.
I am way too nervous about it. Cycling is different.
Yeah.
Cycling is much more open and welcoming, and you'll catch up no matter what.
Well,
And
you
that's
know
kind of
what?
how it
Just,
works.
just that alone. I mean, just that tidbit, that little piece of information you just gave is helpful for someone to know that if you are self-conscious, and rightfully so, right? Because we do get to the point where when we're not the desired weight that we want to be, we don't look the way we want to look, we become self-conscious. Cycling helps those barriers because you don't have the same restrictions. To your point, granted, yeah, if you someone new to cycling, you don't go as far as fast. That's not the goal. There's so
Right.
many group rides that you can get in that are casual group rides, chatty, talk, people talk. And I tell you, you find now one of the things I love about cyclists, and I'm gonna let you close out with what you would want to share with the public. But one of the things I find about cycling is I don't care how large or small or how young or old. Cycling, it never ceased to amaze me. I got dropped 2 years ago. We did an event in Dayton, Ohio. I'll never forget it. And the guy that dropped me, I never got a chance to see his face because he immediately pulled in front of us and we were on his back wheel. So I never got to see it. I just only could see his calves to know he had huge calves. The only reason I knew what I'm about to tell you is because the lady that was riding with him came up on the side of us. And she said, "You young fellas," now I'm 50 years old. So she go, "You
Right.
young fellas should be ashamed of yourself letting this 80-year-old pull you all."
Right. Yep. I've been
And,
there.
and all I could do, man, is he wound up pulling off, leaving us, right? And here's the crazy thing. It was a metric in Dayton. The day before, he had just did an event, a century. So he was doing a recovery on this metric. And he dropped us. So when we finally caught him at a rest station, I did everything but bow to this man. I'm talking about
Right.
like I'll be your servant for the rest of this trip. Whatever you want, you just
Sure.
tell me because I had that much respect. But what I had was he gave me the ability to see what was possible at that age. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We just need to see it. And the fact that he's 80 years old riding at that level tells me that all I got, if I keep doing the work, keep doing the things that I know I should be doing, I could be that guy too. And that's what I love
Sure.
about cycling.
And you and I were out recently with a gentleman who I think is 69, has had
Oh,
some heart
Donnie.
surgeries. And you know what? We're on this hill yesterday and we're going, and it's the end of our ride for the day for the most part. Everybody's burnt out. And all of a sudden, we're going up this hill and he just charges. And like, I put every ounce of effort I possibly could into it. I'm 42 years old. I started pushing. I couldn't keep up with him. I caught him back up at the top at the end there because he didn't leave anything on the field. He just really knocked it out of the park. And it's just so motivational. Any age, it doesn't matter what your story is. You can do this.
Yes, you can.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. You were saying what I would recommend. So getting a support network. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't have to be somebody you know. Family first, if you can, great. That's important. It certainly helps. Your friends next. You got some friends that are more athletic. Ask them to go out with you. I am 100% positive that they will do it for you. And then lastly, all these meetup groups, all of these Facebook groups, you go, you join them, and get out with them. And they have all different levels. Just start a conversation, start going for a little walk, a little ride, something, anything, and build that network for yourself. And that'll keep you going because now you're getting calls every other day saying, hey, what are we doing? Hey, what are we doing? Where are we going? What's our challenge for the day? Are we going to do cat and mouse, go up hills, whatever. It doesn't matter if you think you can do it because you will, and you'll do it at your pace. And then, throw in the lower calorie diet. You'll work towards better dieting later, but just lower your calories. You can eat pizza. I don't care. I don't care if you're eating butter. I mean, don't eat butter, but
yeah, don't eat butter.
Pizza, high calorie foods, fine. That's great. Just limit your calories. There's plenty of online resources for that. And then, more than anything, make those friendships. Call me. I'll help. I'm here for you. If you're in the area, if you're in the Montgomery, Aurora, Naperville vicinity, anywhere around there, I'm here for you. Holler out.
That's right. All right, man. Listen, hey, I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Definitely. The wealth of information, the battle. And we right here with you, bro. We right here with you. I thank God for bringing us together, establishing connections and friendships and community because I'm an advocate for community. And I love networking with people to have not only goals, but positive things to add to life, just take life
Absolutely.
And add value to it, looking for the greater things that we have in life. And this is one of them. Cycling is one of many. There's others. And I enjoy cycling. And I enjoy those who enjoy cycling. So thank you for sharing this with our audience. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And we'll do it again for sure.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
All right. Everybody listen. This is your boy Cross, a.k.a. the Christian Cyclist. And it's been a great episode. John Michael, we're going to have him back in the future talking about other things. And listen, stay tuned. We got episode 3. We got some exciting guests coming on talking about all type of things. Also, the young man that he talked about, Donnie, the 69-year-old. You can't wait to hear his story and what he went through and how he's persevering even today. So again, thank you. Peace. I'll see you again on the next episode.